I'm Laurie Blake. This is the WrestleTalk news. On Fridays, we wear pink. Well, I wear pink. I don't know what you're doing. I'm not your dad. Our top story is about WWE signing AEW talent, or more specifically, not signing them. Because they were scared. I was scared of doing the talent. This comes after some mysterious reports of a new unnamed AEW talent reportedly being interested in a move to WWE. Potentially the most nothing story to have ever storied. No specifics, no concretes, nada. But it has brought something more interesting out of the woodwork, because in explaining why talent seeking opportunities in WWE while signed with AEW is tricky, Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio let slip that WWE is very, very leery because of the MLW lawsuit. So they're not making, if that MLW lawsuit wasn't there, WWE. And it's not just these guys, the elite. There's other guys that this relates to that have interest at least in hearing from WWE, and in one case interested in going to WWE, and WWE has been uncharacteristically not aggressively trying to steal talent, unless somebody's contract is actually over because of that MLW lawsuit. Very, very leery, also a good way to describe Vince McMahon. Hang on. Hello? What's that? Oh yeah, all right, yeah. Allegedly, MLW, of course, have an ongoing dispute with WWE over many years of egregious anti-competitive behaviour when it comes to essentially throwing their weight around in order to poach talent and drown the indies where they stand. Mel's noted that if WWE do something wrong and it gets out, that is not a good thing for that lawsuit. And also that it is now Ari Emanuel in charge and not a defiant Vince. Defiant Vince is a bit like saying stripy tiger. You don't actually need the extra descriptor, because Vince would do, just saying Vince. Meltzer noted that while Ari likely wouldn't fire Vince or Dana over a contract offer that made the lawsuit look bad, there will be a scapegoat in that, a sort of sacrificial firing to appease the lawsuit gods. Chumps for the chump god. Meltzer didn't name the people who were reportedly interested in the WWE signing, but his comments were sparked by discussion around Kenny Omega commenting that he will go wherever these guys go, in reference to the Young Bucks and not the early 2001 Blonde Curtain crooners, The Calling. Now, I always say this to Tony Khan, so I think it's only fair to say here too, never mind signing new talent WWE, play with the toys you got. One toy that people are kind of worried Mum might have thrown out or taken to the charity shop is Bray Wyatt, who hasn't been seen on WWE TV since late February when he was seemingly building to a match with Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania. That didn't happen. Wyatt was then taking time away due to illness, but hasn't returned nor been very active on social media. Essentially, radio silence across the board, which leads to speculation, which leads to WrestleTalk news, which leads to money for Laurie. Only now he's reappeared on Twitter to promote the WWE 2K23 Wyatt DLC pack, which is actually his first tweet since June the 7th, where he paid tribute to the Iron Sheik following the legend's passing. Now, it was reported earlier in the month that Wyatt is still sidelined and not cleared for a return to action, but the DLC and promo from Bray is a good sign for Wyatt's continued presence in WWE at least, so this is positive steps. Before we crack on with the rest of the news, I just wanted to pop in here and say, hey, why don't you go over to PFK and watch our AEW Fight Forever playthrough series? Because me and Luke and Pete have been working our way through the Road to Elite mode, and we've got the penultimate episode coming out tomorrow, so you can head on over to Parts Unknown right now and catch up on the other 3 eps in time for that. The series is really silly, and we really enjoyed making it, and frankly, we would love to make more gameplay stuff, but you know, people actually have to you actually have to bother watching it. So if sort of justify that. So if you could, it'd be good if you could. All right, back in the room. Despite the typical AEW, WWE tribalism that can exist within each company's respective fan bases, it seems that there may at least now be one common ground that both can agree on, that pro wrestling is in fact LA Knight's game. Yeah, the swelling popularity within WWE for Mr. Knight that has been brewing in recent months now seems to have firmly spilled out into the opposition's fan base. Footage from outside the TD Garden in Boston showed a fan asking the question, whose game is it? And subsequently receiving an answer of LA Knight. Yeah, from another large group of the Yeah movement. The caption of the video read, LA Knight is so over that he's even getting chants at AEW events. Something Knight himself would then acknowledge, sharing said video to his Instagram story and adding more fuel to the fire. Now, if this was a tribal court, I'm pretty sure the megastar would have already rested his case. for a mega push. But hey, while we're on the topic of impending pushes, there has been word of a certain AEW Collision star receiving one of those in the very near future. Now, if you, and I sincerely hope you all did, watch the truly marvellous Best 2 out of 3 Falls AEW tag title match on Collision last Saturday between FTR and Bullet Club Gold, you may have noticed something curious regarding who did and didn't take those 2 falls that ensured Dax and Cash retained their titles. Because yes, despite a Best of 3 falls leaving the opportunity for both members of an opposing team to take a fall each, poor old Juice Robinson was the unlucky victim of both, while Jay White remained unscathed. And it turns out that this was in fact very intentional, as according to Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, AEW are protecting Jay for bigger things. Now, White has in fact not tasted defeat firsthand since debuting for the company in April, so this protection seems very much intentional. And why wouldn't you protect the guy? He's 30 years old, a former IWGP heavyweight champion, and most importantly of all, has received Phil Brooks' stamp of approval. One other fella who was reportedly handpicked by Punk for Collision was Samoa Joe, and we have of course already seen the 2 veterans run back their 2-decade-old feud from ROH. However, despite suggesting that matters weren't finished between himself and Punk by, choking him out after the Bella Bear Owen Hart tournament semi-final and all, there may in fact be different plans in store for the Samoan submission machine next. Specifically, at August 27th's All In. Because despite no matches being announced for Wembley just yet, Joe may have just changed that, as speaking on the Battleground podcast, the ROH TV champion teased a confrontation with a certain local boy who also holds championship gold outside of AEW, Zack Sabre Jr. Joe confirmed that he will in fact be in London for All In, but questioned whether Zack would want a beating in such close proximity to his mother. Joe said, "But Zack, he's home, right? Does he really want that to happen to him in his backyard? Mum can finally make it out for the matches, and I smear you all over the canvas. Do you really want to ruin Christmas?" It's just me, if I'm thinking about the family events and how I want to arrange this and I'm Zack, I'm like, maybe not the best time to really go after Joe. So yeah, we'll see. While Joe may just be looking out for Zack's best interests, I for one wouldn't mind seeing it. I'm really sorry, Zack's mum. Staying with Samoan Joseph when he's not busy threatening mothers or playing a twisted murderous clown in the new Twisted Metal TV series, he is of course usually defending his ROH TV championship. Now, one would assume that Joe was a lock for the upcoming Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view, an event that is, it's happening tonight. They're wrestling. And if you check the confirmed card for the show, you would find Joe's name on there, as he is set to defend his title against former ROH World Champion Dalton Castle. However, it turns out that this last-minute booking was in fact a result of Joe not originally looking likely to appear on the show at all. According to Fight for Select, Joe was set to take time off from both AEW and Ring of Honor to take part in media appearances and promotion for his role in the new Peacock Twisted Metal series. However, due to the ongoing SAG-AFTRA strikes, these appearances were cancelled, and Joe became available as of last week. So then the contenders match between Shane Taylor and Dalton Castle was then moved from Death Before Dishonor to Before Death Before Dishonor, with the winner facing Joe for his title at Death Before Dishonor, and then after Death Before Dishonor, somebody will be the champion. And it turns out that these changes were not the only ones made to the show, as Fight for Select also reported that Joe's original opponent for the event was in fact Mark Briscoe, with Ring of Honor World Champion Claudio Castagnoli originally set to take on Eddie Kingston, both rematches of March's Supercard of Honor event. This, of course, was presumably changed due to Kingston's appearance in the G1 Climax and Joe's planned time off, meaning that TK would instead merge the two and have Claudio defend against Briscoe. Only Briscoe would then suffer a knee injury last week, and that ruled him out. A nightmare. So TK adapted once more and changed course for Claudio to instead defend against Pac, something that was set up during Wednesday's Blood and Guts match as Pac walked out on Team BCC. So that's that. That is that. Fair play to Tony Khan. That's a lot of stress, I am sure. But somehow, you've ended up with a still pretty good main event there. Well done. Speaking of Blood and Guts, let's take a peek at how the ratings fared, shall we? Because was it worth repeatedly landing on a bed of nails? Thankfully, yes. Yeah, that's right. This week's Dynamite saw an expected jump in viewership to a very strong 953,000 on average, according to WrestleNomics and Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer. This was up 16% from the week prior and became AEW's strongest rating since the March 22nd Dynamite headlined by Kenny Omega and El Hijo del Vikingo. The key 18 to 49 demo was also up 15% from last week, scoring a 0.34 overall. I've been doing this for years and I still don't know what that means. This success saw AEW President Tony Khan also proudly announce on Twitter that Dynamite was the highest rated show on cable on Wednesday overall. So all good in the hood, right? Well, Unfortunately for Tony Khan, hosting such a brutal, grueling, violent match such as Blood and Guts is sure to pay a toll on the competitors involved, right? I mean, last year was evidence of that fact, with Santana unfortunately still out from a knee injury suffered during the bout. Adding to that was the disappointment of already losing Blackpool Combat Club frontman and planned Blood and Guts contestant Bryan Danielson to a broken arm just weeks before the match. So yeah, this coupled with the ROH chaos we mentioned made TK likely praying for safety amongst all the thumbtacks and the screwdrivers and stuff, just being like, this is a terrible idea. And thankfully this year there is in fact some well-needed good news, as Dave Meltzer reported on Wrestling Observer Radio that there were in fact no serious injuries coming out of Blood and Guts. How? That is despite both Wheeler Yuta and Kota Ibushi reportedly entering the match already hurt, so thankfully no injuries were even further aggravated. How? That's insane. Well, it's nice to finish on a positive injury note anyway, isn't it? Madness. Happy Friday. Go watch the AEW thing, please. Please.
So, shall I do some sightseeing then?
Oh, it's Hangman!
Lower Broadway.
I've really got to stop hanging out with this guy.
You can just feel the history and the passion for the music here. You went to country at all, CM Punk?
Shot a man in Reno just to watch him die.